All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you very much for coming today. This is a program, we refer to these as our Talk and Tour series of workshops. This is our third year working these, so the McHenry County Department of Planning and Development collaborates with the environmental defenders of McHenry County to showcase examples of best management practices that are being implemented here in McHenry County. We read a lot of things in the various publications, and we hear about great things being done all around the world, but we want to be talking about great things that are being done here, and also we want to be showcasing things that have been done successfully. And a big part of what we try and also talk about is what worked and what didn't, so that we can flatten the learning curve and not make the same mistakes over and over again. But we have a lot to learn from each other, and so as we go through our program, if you think about things that you were doing in your communities or your organizations that would be representative of good examples of best management practices, please let me know, because we want to keep this program going. It really has been very popular. This program in particular kind of evolved in a funny way. We had met with Michele to talk about watershed planning, and during the course of our conversation, Michele started talking about how they were using this program called CityWorks, and I don't know if you guys know Michele, but she is a great communicator, and you can tell when she's really into something. She gets very excited about it. But as we talk more and more about what they were doing with CityWorks, it really made a lot of sense to a lot of the types of things that we're going to be working on as well. So as you all probably know, CityWorks is a GIS-based asset management program. There are other programs. McHenry County Division of Transportation uses a program called Cartograph, which is a competing program, but they're all following a similar pattern. We're very interested in using this type of program for our MS4 program. So as we're responsible for managing the MS4 program for McHenry County in the unincorporated areas. And as we get more and more involved in the MS4 program, and most of you may be aware, the MS4 for Illinois is about to be updated, and it's going to be much more rigorous than it has been in the past. So how are we going to manage our assets appropriately? So we think that a GIS-based program really is going to be beneficial. Like I said, I think we have a lot to learn from what Algonquin has done. Algonquin has really been a leader in many best management practices. We did a great program with them a couple years ago on green infrastructure, and that's another thing that we really see an asset to using this type of Cartograph or CityWorks program, is to manage our green infrastructure appropriately. And so I'm really excited to learn more about how Algonquin has been doing this. So Michele Zimmerman is the Assistant Public Works Director. I kept saying Deputy Public Works Director, Assistant Public Works Director for the Village of Algonquin, and I think most of you probably know her, but if not, we have really been impressed with what Michele has done for the village over the years, and I think we all can learn a lot from her. So I'm going to go. Oh, actually, I will also say the Environmental Defenders of McHenry County, like I said, is our partner in these programs, and they do a lot of great work here in McHenry County and provide opportunities for us to make a difference. If you want to get involved in making the county and the world a better place, there are all kinds of opportunities that the Environmental Defenders provide for you to empower you to do that. So please stop by their table at some point today, get more information, and feel free to reach out to them. I am a member of their Water and Natural Resources Protection Committee, and so they are our partners in developing these programs. So without further ado, Michele Zimmerman, please take off.
Thank you.
Here. There you go.
So I'm gonna give you a little tour. So that's the tour part. And the visual of what happens in the asset management system. So we'll get into that and I'll show you how we utilize this.
Hey, Michelle, maybe
Yes.
for the benefit of everybody else,
Uh-huh.
the population served,
Oh.
staff that serves them, and then the total area of the village, do you guys?
Oh, great, you're gonna make me do all the statistics. We're like 31,000, I believe.
Just under 30.
It's just over under 30. It kind of goes up and down within that range. So 52 public works staff. I don't know the acreage, I don't know the area of the village.
I was just curious.
Oh, I always know it and I can't think of it right now. Anyway, huh?
And then how long have you been using CityWorks? I know you said that before.
We got CityWorks about 10 years ago. And then we went through trial and error of setting it up and using it. And we spent about 4 years setting it up incorrectly to where we couldn't pull any data from it. It wasn't usable. It really wasn't managing the assets. We set it up to originally more as a timekeeping and using the assets, and we decided we have a timekeeping system called Kronos. Asset management is not to know what somebody did exactly 8 hours a day. It is to know how much it costs to maintain each of your different types of assets, not how somebody spends 8 hours a day. So the employee rates in CityWorks have a multiplier on them that allow for, I came in, we had a training. I had to get on the computer in the morning to get my work orders and set up my work. Miscellaneous things, running to get parts, different stuff like that. So there's a multiplier built into the salaries on here to accommodate not accounting for an 8-hour day, but to get a true cost of what it costs to employ a person. And when we started, we were literally doing work orders like to accommodate for the 8-hour day, a work order for lunch, a work order for breaks, so that you could pull up X employee and here was their 8-hour day. And a work order for training, a work order for running to the store for parts. That is not asset management. That is, and my big thing is when it wasn't working and we weren't pulling data, we had to take a whole different approach to how we set it up. And I always said, if you bring in technology and it's taking harder and longer to do when you are on an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of paper, then you're not using the technology right, because it's not supposed to make it more complicated, more difficult, and a bigger, harder process. It's supposed to make everything easier. So we took a look at that. We revamped how we set up everything from the maintenance worker, one level all the way up to the public works director level. Once we did that and compared, also what we did is we were putting costing in, and we were putting it in with a certain type of structure the village, called Village Storm Manhole A, because that was just our name that we called it for 50 years. We set everything to industry standards. So we could put in things, costing, items, pavement markings, for instance. We just had, white dash line or something, and it didn't correlate to anything with length or size, and so you couldn't pull data out and compare that to contractor pricing. You couldn't pull it out to get bids. You couldn't do anything with it because we didn't have it per the industry standard. So we had to go back into all the different assets and see how the rest of the world looked at them and how contractors priced them, and how bids came in based on that. So the assets are set up that way also. So that was basically we took those first 4 to 5 years and looked at everything, and we basically went delete, 5 years gone, because it was that unusable. Now we're in about 6 or 7 years and there's no deletes anymore. It's completely viable data. We're rocking and rolling, we're doing good. The first thing I'll kind of show you is our service requests. So get in here where I can see. So what I have is I have a dashboard, and I am seeing on a daily basis, everything that's going on with those operating divisions down there. What kind of work they're doing, what's coming in, what's happening, and I can tell because of the work orders and the different stuff that they're making and they're doing, what gets opened, what gets closed, and then I kind of do the QA, QC for everything. But here's our service request system. So everything comes in. A call taker can go here and do a new service request. And depending on what the item is, you go to this tree and you pick what the item is to do the service request. And you put in the information. And then it immediately pops into my inbox, which is seeing all open service requests. But depending on the type, it's going directly to that supervisor also. So they can address it immediately when they see it come in to themselves or to the phone or on their phone. Another thing that we have is See-Click Fix. Do you have a See-Click Fix on your phone? Put in a service request.
Put in one for mowing.
Yeah, Brad has to handle mowing. Brad's our village ecologist back there, so you've got one ready waiting for you. So yes?
Question, so when you got to that service order, who put that in?
Anybody, so not here. So this is on everybody, all the employees here in the village have this, and then you answer the phone and you go immediately here. So if somebody's at the village hall and they're like, I have a problem, a big tree branch just fell across the road, we do not go, let me transfer you to Parks and Forestry so somebody can help you. Goes immediately in here. We avoid all of that. Sometimes if there's a real technical question, we'll transfer it, but everybody's able to put everything here because actually this is going to get to the right person to handle it a lot faster than just transferring a phone call. The resident portal is the See-Click Fix app. So you'll see Brad's going to do a service request. And as soon as he submits it, you're going to see it pop up here. So he's got one mowing weeds, but a new one will come in. And as soon as he presses save or send, it's going to pop up in the inbox.
The mobile app that he has, was it a direct link to CityWorks, or was it a different platform?
It's a different platform, but they are links. Like CityWorks has a module or whatever where you can pull that in. But See-Click Fix is not owned by CityWorks. It's a separate software or entity or however that works. See-Click Fix. But it looks really similar to this, and they integrate so that you can use it. So that's really cool how the service requests in, how we deal with those. A little information I want to kind of show you on that. Then we can do some reporting off of that. It's got a lot of data, so. So I am analyzing here the service requests since I think 2018. Let's let them pull in. Sorry, this is my laptop, so it kind of takes a little. Okay, we'll go to that after this comes in. Anyway, so this data is pulling, so you can run reports off of it. So this data is pulling, I think, since 2018. So since 2018, there we are. Yeah, since 2018, we've taken in 19,124 service requests through this platform. Over all of those years, 6,000 of them the call came into Public Works. 7,600 came in through the See-Click Fix app. Community Development took 1,900. General Services, that's the Village Hall, took in 2,800, and then CCOM is the police dispatch. So it will kind of show you down here, you can see number by year. And then what's really interesting about this is up here, this data which I'll zoom into this on another screen. I can pick any specific year, and it'll take a minute to update, but it will change the numbers there based on the year. It should change the data about who took in who what. The interesting thing about this, then we've got it charted out here by the type of service request, so we can see over the years what are most people calling about, what are people calling in, what services are they looking for, what services do they need. And this is a big, like, 5-year picture. Again, I can analyze it by each year. We'll go back to my inbox.
And I found this aspect of the program to be particularly interesting. So being a card-carrying nerd, when I first heard about this program, I started listening to podcasts and things like that. And so I listened to your old forester who just retired recently, talking about how he used the CityWorks program. And one of the really telling things was looking at the number of reasons for people calling in. Really ended up being very important because it was completely counterintuitive. And so they were getting ready to get rid of a piece of equipment or some aspect of the department, but they were able to use this to show that that was actually the #1 call that they were getting from the public.
Yep.
And so, this is real hard data that you can use to make real decisions.
Right.
And sometimes the hard data just isn't as intuitive as you would think it is.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So this is just this year. So you can see, here's my top service requests coming in. We're just getting into the summer, so snow and ice is still up there as #1. This will switch in a couple of months, and things will switch around. So this is just looking at this year. So the story he was telling, if I would go back to those since 2018 and look at it, I always like to tell this. So the village, we send out a community survey each year. And a lot of times on the community survey, over the years, people will say, tree trimming is not that important. Why do we do it? Why are we spending money? I like the urban forest, but these programs, why do we need them? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. So great, that was coming in through the community survey. What people were sitting at their table in December writing in the community survey. Then budget time kind of came, and the tree trimming program and stuff are competing funds and general services, and we were looking at doing stuff, and they were going to cut the tree trimming, and we said, oh no, we need to rethink this. So if I go to each year and then the picture of all the years since 2018, the top 2 to 3 types of service requests are coming in relate to trees. Trimming, dead, damaged, broken, branch, clear, trimming, all that. So we almost cut the program, again, in the larger meeting, talking about what was said on the community survey of people sitting at their table, writing something in December, and what's really happening with Public Works in the field and the services people are requesting from Public Works. Trees is always in the top 5. So there's no cutting of the tree trimming program, and some of that we do. That relates directly to the amount of requests we do not get for trees down, dead, damaged, and broken during storms also. So oftentimes the same storms are coming through here as other communities, and we are sending our crews to help everybody else because we have a very robust program based on a lot of data. So that's how the service request portion of this works. Any questions? Did yours come in yet?
Yeah, it should be there.
Got a question back to Michelle.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
How is the data stored? Is that locally on a server, or is that, okay?
Can you repeat the question?
How is the data stored? I think this is on our server. I don't think CityWorks is in the cloud.
There's a local version, there's a cloud.
Yeah, I think we're still on the local version.
Okay.
You're getting me into IT questions that I can't answer very well. I'm so sorry.
You mentioned 911 dispatch. Do they actually input the data too for the request?
Yeah, you could see on that report out of the 19,000, they did like what was it, 900 over the last years. But they do some that come in, not often. So right here, Brad just used his phone and he put in a service request right here.
You even have to get a picture,
So you see it popped up immediately into my inbox, and I can see what's going on with Brad, and the grass needs to be mowed, and he gave me a picture. Right? So I'm not actually gonna get this. Brad is actually going to get this. And then he would contact our mowing contractor, or maybe if it's a sightline issue, he might send a crew, hey guys, run out there, this is dangerous, this is a sightline issue, can you just head out there 15 minutes at the end of your day, we're done. It doesn't sit there for 3 days before somebody gets to it, and then there's a massive accident. So, any other questions on this part of it?
How would you handle out of your jurisdiction, say Algonquin Road through Algonquin?
So,
Residents are going to call you about
so in the service request,
And my second part of this may be out of your range. If McDOT were to acquire this, do you know if there's a way to port it over?
I don't know.
You need to port it over.
What do you mean by that?
They take a request.
Oh, there possibly, yes, there is. Yep, there is.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. So,
I didn't quite follow, if you could,
So, yeah, go ahead. It's like CCOM. CCOM can get this and put in a service request that shows up to us. CCOM's not part of the village, they're the regional dispatch. So there's a way, I think, that you possibly can do that.
So the road jurisdiction's off. You know, everyone thinks every road in McHenry County is a McHenry County problem.
Right.
I'm with McDOT, by the way. So, and vice versa, sometimes I think, you know, Algonquin Road, which is a county highway, isn't. If they got a request, could it be ported over if we adopted the system?
okay.
I think
Or
so.
vice versa, or
So how we handle those streetlight outage, most of the time, I feel like I want to stand up so I can see you guys. Most of the time, the streetlights in the village are owned by ComEd. There's some that are owned by the village. So we have a response that Patty, or any receptionist, usually Patty, she's our admin assistant. It's an automatic drop down. She doesn't even have to type it in. It's just predefined. And this is where I'm going to show you this. It's predefined. We say this streetlight's owned by ComEd. We're going to call it in for you, but any further questions, here's the number, call them. This is not the village. That's what we do to you guys. This is under the jurisdiction of McDOT. Here's where you can reach them. And we'll put that response in the service request, so then we don't call you. We do on the streetlights just because she can do it online and put them in. The other ones, Kane County, IDOT, we say you need to call them, this is not us. So then we don't spend all day making phone calls and tracking it down. And then we also don't try to do anything with those, depending on what they are, just for liability reasons. If it's not under our jurisdiction to handle, then we've sent it to who should be handling it and who should be answering any questions about it. So that's how we handle it now.
Do you filter that all out?
Pardon?
Do you filter that all out and work with the end of the year request as different jurisdictions request?
I guess I don't understand what you're asking.
Maybe somebody else's jurisdiction, or is that included in all your requests?
It's certain ones,
Okay.
meaning the predefined where I can select it. I mean,
19,000 total.
Uh-huh.
Does it filter
Is
out
McHenry County DOT doing most of the work is what we're asking?
No, I can't filter that out. I could, if I set up a field, City Works is customizable, which is why you're seeing a lot of these features. Some of the other asset management programs are out of the box and you get what you get. City Works is super customizable. So I could put a field in the service request that puts that comment in there, but it could say responsibility, McDOT, IDOT, or whatever, and then I could run a report of all of those, pick the field that says McDOT, how many did I send that way, or how many did I respond that this is not our issue. We don't, but we could easily put that in and run that data.
I don't want to distract us, but that you brought up an interesting point. So MCDOT uses cartograph, and so I'm just kind of curious, from your perspective, you know, if CityWorks is completely customizable, is cartograph a fixed system, or can you modify that as well?
There's some modifications to it. I'm actually attending for a slightly different reason. I'm looking at permitting software, so looking at all the open possibilities. If you asked our cartograph expert, no, it's the only way to go. I see a lot of value in that stuff, but I'm not the main user.
So I think a lot of, you know, even if we have different programs, I think a lot of what we see, how Algonquin is doing it, can be applicable to other programs. But I'm not that familiar. I just found out we had cartograph a week ago. So I am kind of curious as far as comparing the different programs and their capabilities.
Yeah. We don't do a lot of permitting in public works. It's all community development, and we use Munis for permitting and keeping track of all that stuff. But if we wanted to, again, because it's customizable, we could set up work orders and different stuff in order to track and do permits through there. One that we do is a tree removal permit, and it's just a work order, and it has the fields there and then we review it, and then the resident gets an email, please use this as your approved tree removal permit request or whatever. And we can look them up by that and see how many there were, and then it just, again, that stays all electronic. So we're going to get into some of this mapping. Let's reset this. I'm gonna start with, since we're water resources here, we have all of our landscape areas, mowing areas, and natural areas mapped for management. So we can pick this layer, and this is going to show everything that is mowed in the village. And Brad handles the contractor who mows all these areas of the village. So you can pick these.
I'm sorry, are those just Village of properties? Or
Village-owned properties.
is Park District part of the village then? Or?
No, we do not have a park district.
Okay.
We have to handle parks.
Okay.
Yep,
So you
as part of the village.
For all of them?
So we contract all of that for the village parks. So you would go into the mowing layer, and I'm going to pick the assets, and then here's the information on them. So the addresses, the name, what type of mowing, do we do weed control? So for instance, if I can go to this map, Brad just did this year, we need to get proposals for weed control. We can do asset search, parks, landscape areas. I can look up by, let me find this, where is this? Oh no, I gotta go to mowing, sorry. Weed control needed, yes. So this is what we do to get a proposal for weed control. Search. Here's all the things where we need True Green or somebody to come in. Slow. Highlight on the map. There they all are. These what need weed control. Export. And then I can do the acreage and the sites. Put a proposal together, done. This is how many acres I have, this is where they are, here's the map. Send this to 3 contractors. So that's some of the really awesome stuff that this can do. So we have that in the mowing layer.
GIS that we're seeing, is that in your GIS system?
Yep, this is all GIS. The map is all out of GIS.
So the nice thing about CityWorks is it's basically directly tied to ArcGIS.
Yep.
You're not exporting and importing your data, so that's kind of like excellent. CityWorks just got bought by Trimble too.
Yes, they did.
Was that last year or a couple of years ago?
Yep. So these are all of the landscape areas in the village, planter beds, hanging baskets. If you look here, by color coding, it's what they are, so we know where in the downtown, here's like all the hanging baskets we have, here's the urns, the planter urns, where they're located, what they do. You can pick the information. Again, it will tell you all about each of the assets that you chose, what it is, and the service area. That way I can say, oh, we gotta buy planter baskets this year in the downtown. Do an asset search on landscape areas, downtown service area, show me all the things I need to put in a contract to hire a service to come do the very fine landscape maintenance we do in the downtown area. And you export it in Excel, and there's all your information, and you put in a proposal, and then you go out for your pricing.
So I gotta ask, so, you know, like in Kane County, we're struggling just to map out like major infrastructure, like where all of our sewers and culverts are, right? You guys have your hanging baskets, so we haven't done our hanging baskets yet. So how many people, like, what's the process that you went through to do that? Did somebody, because somebody had to physically draw that little polygon on there, so do you have like a full-time GIS person who's just putting these things in, or going out in the field and locating them with field maps or something, or?
So because of the aerials on here, most of the stuff I'm showing you right now, I did, almost all of it. And then we have a full-time GIS person in Public Works. So then I work with him and we get everything drawn on the map. The water and sewer, the underground stuff, we sent crews out to collect, obviously, and that took a long time. That took like 10 years to get all of that on there. All this data took me about 6 or so years to get on there, but yeah, it was just sitting down with him, drawing it. You know, Brad, he manages all this landscape stuff, so you know, he helps and makes updates. But yeah, we have a full-time IT person at Public Works who doesn't just do GIS, he does a lot of other things, but he's here whenever we need something, we can immediately get it changed or corrected in the system. And then I just want to show you so this is basically our green infrastructure network. The red is restored and the yellow is not restored. So this shows you our green infrastructure, all the different things, what they are, how they're managed. I can pick these, look at the assets. You know, here's the Gaslight Park, Bird and Butterfly Sanctuary, Riparian Corridor. It's got all the naturalized detentions on there, the acreage. Then off of this, we'll do stuff, let's say there's a trustee or somebody asking a question like, how much money do we spend on our natural areas? Or, you know, we're doing burns, why do we do burns? What do we spend on that? I can, you know, go in and do an asset search, and I can say, show me all of the natural areas that are managed. So then it gives me a list. These are the restored, and I want to see those on the map. And then I can say, I want to search on these assets I just selected. We have a work order that's burns. So everything that I selected that's managed. So over the last 6 years, we've done 56 burns in the Village of Algonquin. Here they are on the managed natural area. I can take this data again, export it. Here it is. Then I can make it look really nice. So here's where we did the burns, the date we did them, how much they each cost, and how much they cost per year.
So like for the burns themselves, then, who actually input that data into CityWorks?
Brad, because he's responsible for this, he has to do his work orders. The ones where I'll show you where we're doing water, sewer, streets, Tom has to do sewer stuff. Tom has to do his work orders with his crews. And those are his work order templates. So those supervisors are responsible for putting their work in and putting their data in.
That brings up something that I'm kind of interested in this with. I know I am not the most organized human being on the planet, you know, when I have to keep records of things, often I'm recreating things over and over again. So Brad, I guess from your perspective, since you're having to input all this data, having a single place to put this, I'm assuming that makes it a lot easier for you at the end of the day just to throw stuff on here. How do you manage your time with this type of data? Are you doing it on a daily basis, a weekly basis? I'm just kind of curious how it's actually being used.
It's a daily basis.
What's that?
It's a daily basis. This gets used primarily for two main ways. We track contractor costs, so all these burns were contracted out. So then I go and I get the invoices and put in work orders and put in the cost for them. The other way we do it is I have a crew that goes out to work on natural areas, and those are more of like a daily work order that they code their time and materials to. And I use those both on a daily basis.
So this is Brad's day, basically. He has these templates right here. And so this will be, he'll create work for his crews off of this template. What do you need to do here? What do you control? Where do you need to do it? This is outstanding. Where is it? He added the asset. You add the asset to your work order so that if I'm the guy in the field, I can be like, oh, that's where I'm going, right there. And that's where the work is, and then you put information in here of what he wants done. They go to this here. This is where they select so their employee, I worked 5 hours, save, I used this equipment. Here's my vehicles or equipment I used, how many hours, save, and then it puts the cost into the work order.
So the individual employees are putting this data in?
Yeah.
Your village employees.
They're entering their time that they were out there.
If they're contractors,
Right.
I'll do it on the back end. Our contractors don't put in their time, but I'll code in when I get invoiced for that work. I'll put that cost in to the work orders.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's different templates based on the type of work we do, how to track what it is. So you could run a report that, like, here is, in the last 2 years, the natural area maintenance that we've done. So we have 252 work orders. What were they? I can say, yeah, what are we spending most of our time doing? And then I can organize it by the different types of things we're doing when we go out to manage the natural areas.
Michelle, just a question. I think you addressed this earlier on, but like, so there's parts of your day where you're kind of in transition, and you talked a little bit about that. So you're not accounting for every hour in this thing. You're just like, okay, this is what I spent my time on.
When I got to the site, I spent 2 hours at the site. I didn't spend an hour driving back and forth. That's not recorded in here or anything, because there's a multiplier on their salary that accommodates for the true cost of the employee. So if you're only capturing his cost on paper without the multiplier, you're not capturing the true cost of the employee, because he's doing other stuff in his 8-hour day. So you got to accommodate for what does it cost you to manage the asset is an 8-hour day of an employee, even though he might only be working 6 of it. So that's why the multiplier's on there. Go ahead.
Does field staff have like a tablet or something?
Every field staff has a tablet.
Hey, stop by here.
Yep, nope, they're assigned them right from the get-go, and everybody does everything right off their iPad.
So some of the efficiency you mentioned when there's an issue and you've got staff nearby, are you making that decision on which one to choose? Or does that get entered in and it realizes who's closest or?
No, but that's on the supervisor, right? So if something comes in for a dead animal, like Tom, who does sewer underground in the wastewater plant, he's probably not going to see that because he can see all the, depending on how you set it up, he can see every service request that comes in, but he's got something set up in his inbox that if it's sewer related, he's going to see it immediately, and then they can get an alert on my phone so that anytime I get a service request that's my division's responsibility, I want to look on my phone immediately because this is an emergency, or can I just go to sleep at night tonight and then handle this with the crew tomorrow? So like a dead animal is going to come in and my street supervisor is going to see that service request, and so he's going to know if his crew's right around there. And so he makes that decision. That way Tom and Scott Goad aren't sending two different crews to pick up the dead animal. Go ahead.
Did you have an outside consultant help you eventually after the 4 or 5 years? So are you the champion of this program? Okay, so you're the expert and then you...
And my IT guys. And then, I mean, to help with all the staff. But yes, I am the champion along with Brian in IT.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you bought the software, I mean, you had to have some kind of training, I mean, it's...
Yeah, CityWorks came in and they came in and did the training, and then on the back end they did a lot more extensive training with IT to how to customize things and the templates and what to do, and then that's where I had to come in because they're like, we don't know how to set up the templates, which is kind of what went wrong in the first 5 years is IT tried to set up the
Right, the templates for
how we do our work every day.
Yeah, they don't...
And
Right.
it captured no usable data, basically. Just trial and error, and that's where we're like, oh no, we have to set this up from the worker to the public works director.
So is it set up on like a cost for the initial software and then per user? So like you have 40 users or
Nope,
like
yearly cost based on population.
based on the population served?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's I think it was comparable. It was a little bit higher of an initial cost, and then the yearly cost I think is a little bit higher than a lot of the other programs. But what I will tell you about this is when we started, of course, a lot of people down the hallway weren't IT savvy and they weren't very happy about this, and a lot of people left because they didn't want to deal with using technology. So when we started CityWorks 10 years ago, and then we really started to ramp it up and manage these assets like I'll show you, at one time we had 71 employees. We're down 20 employees that we don't have to rehire because of this program. It's so efficient, and it maximizes the efficiency of your work day and what you have where and what you have to do to it, that we're down 20 people that we won't rehire.
A decrease in the level of service?
No, we've seen an increase in the level of service. We now, after 6 years, with most of our assets, I would say, we are not reactive any longer. We are now on, we've made the switch that our maintenance is now proactive. And that happened in 6 years with the efficiency of CityWorks. Fair?
Sure.
I think Tom does a lot of the sanitary sewer stuff and televising and cleaning and this and that. And I think, so you're the one, they get the calls when obviously backups and bad stuff is happening. And I think we're flipped.
We've gone from, we try and get out and flush 125,000 feet per year to, starting out, maybe we'd make that number. Now we go out, we inspect manholes now while we're flushing. So they're doing inspections on manholes and they're cleaning the sewer at the same time. So every 5 to 10 years, we'll inspect every manhole type.
And the reason they can do that is because So this is our sanitary sewer system. I gotta zoom in, so I apologize. So this is the sanitary sewer system. So these are all the sewer lines Tom is flushing and everything. What's that? I don't think I do, but, so here's an example of like the different basins. This isn't a really good one, but he can pick like a sub-basin, you know, flush everything in this sub-basin this year. So this is where it's the efficiency of your work and programming things to reactive or proactive maintenance. 5-year cycle, you can pick it by zone, you get everything. When they're out flushing, you know, all the manholes are on here. I realize this isn't how you do it, but I was just trying to show the zone. All the manholes are on here, so as they're flushing, Tom will have said, show me all the manholes in this zone, pick them, create an inspection for all these manholes. Then they're flushing on one end with a work order, I'm flushing this sewer, and then they flip to the other page over on the iPad, and there's the inspection for this manhole. This is just flushing, but I'm inspecting the manhole. This is great, move on. This is bad, create a work order, we need to fix it.
And you said that took about 10 years to collect all your assets as far as collection?
The underground stuff, I would say, took probably about that long. The visualized stuff out there took about 5 years for all of that.
So as a champion for this program, do you consider yourself a really technological person?
No.
And I guess that's, you know, I am not either. And I guess, Tom, is this stuff natural to you?
My soon-to-be 20-year-old student would probably say, no, he's not technically. This breeds creativity, and it really helps you think things through and come up with new ideas to approach problems, and approach maybe being shorthanded. We were shorthanded for a number of years on the sewer team, and fortunately now we have a really good staff, and they're open to trying new ways to do things to be more efficient. And without CityWorks, I don't think we ever would have thought to take a look at that manhole. You already have the manhole open. Take a look at it. Tell me if there's a problem. The way we have it set up is the crew goes out, they have the iPad, they inspect the manhole, they flush the line. We have an M3 who's basically a supervisor in training position. He's looking at the inspections that are completed on mobile, so they can complete on mobile, which just kicks it into a tab. The inspection's reviewed. If that M3, Nick says, hey, you know what, there's a problem here, we need to do some work, he creates a work order. Now that goes to another tab, so we got this workflow established, and it's working really well.
Because if you didn't have this, and you're sitting there flushing the sewer, but you're trying to inspect manholes on a piece of paper, and they don't have an ID or a number, just imagine trying to handle the data of, I'm trying to write down where this manhole is located, what is wrong with it, what's going on, where am I down the line, and then when I send somebody back out to fix it, are they going to figure out what I was talking to? Because am I going to keep it on a written piece of paper, or am I going to bring this back and then somebody's going to spend 4 hours putting it in an Excel spreadsheet? You saw it takes a minute to export it, organize your columns, and get your data.
Can you talk about compliance and what it took to get everyone on board? Because obviously this program's only going to be as good as the data that people input.
So it took a while just getting people up with technology, a lot of training, a lot of how the inbox worked, how the workflow worked. I will tell you, this made us a really excellent department, because people were like, we're going to get more service requests in, and we're going to have more work, and more stuff is going to be coming in, and how are we going to handle all this? It made us so much better, and it made us handle everything so much better, but it was a lot of training. And you know, my inbox, so it's the supervisors, but you see my inbox has all these tabs. Here's our sidewalks, everything we do with our sidewalks. Here's pavement. Look at every work order we do for pavement, right? I flip through them on a weekly to daily basis, and it's time and time again. You didn't fill out this work order right. go fix your work order you left out. So we got to searches where the supervisor would be like, here's what I'm responsible for, and they're forgetting to put in their costs. Now the supervisor, we have he has a little tab and it says, is anything zero? Oh, I've got to get on the guy who didn't put his time in his work order. Every day he can look at, this work order was closed and it has 0 cost in it. So immediately you're making people correct their work, and after you do that so much time, let me tell you, they do it. Because it just gets ingrained over and over. If I don't do this, somebody's going to call me out because we're looking at the data all the time, and then it just becomes what you do.
Did you do all the trainings?
I didn't. I did a lot of the trainings for the layers, but we worked as a team from the maintenance worker ones to my level and the public works director to set up the templates so they knew this is what I'm going to use when I go out in the field. How do I want to see it? What works efficiently for me? I took that and said, as a manager, what data do I have to pull out of it once you put it in there to report to the board, the manager, to compare to contracted costs. So we set them up that way as a team. So they weren't like, oh my God, all of a sudden you just gave me this thing. What is it? They were involved in creating it. Which, yeah, it took a lot of time, and like anything, reinforcement, and every once in a while, you know, you can see people forget stuff, and you gotta jab the supervisors, you know, you're forgetting this or doing that, but that's anything, so yeah, it was a long time. They weren't familiar with the technology and computers and all of that stuff, so IT did a lot of that type of training, and then I did a lot of the template, workflow, what you're doing every day type training. So
seems like a lot of this hinges on, like, somebody has to step up and kind of be the champion for, and bite the bullet up front to collect and organize the data. Because I see a lot of agencies and organizations that they say, well, we don't have the data, or the data's not complete, or it's not in a format, it's not in a standardized format, so therefore we'll never get to this. And then they just keep kicking this down the road year after year after year. And
yeah, very much so. So yeah, that is, you know, talking about compliance stuff. Let me flip off sanitary. Let's get to storm.
If I could comment on that, I think a big part of it is trying to get rid of the reactive mentality, because it's been around a long time. People don't necessarily want to be proactive, and there's a place for it, for sure.
I mean, what I've seen in some of the circles I've kind of waded into is, it's not that they don't want to be proactive. Like I said, they feel so overwhelmed that they don't have a handle on what they have and what they need to do. So they basically say, I don't have time to be proactive. You know, and then you just get caught in this endless cycle, and you know, that's why.
Yeah, it is.
Somebody's got to step up and say, okay, you know what? We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna put the data there for you and get it to this level, and then you guys can work on it from there. But I got you over the hump, you know, and that's.
Yeah.
And if you can do that as an organization, like several individuals, that's great. Sometimes it kind of falls, you know, just to one.
I got a question on you said you went down in staff from
70-ish to about 50, yeah, about 20 people.
Do you think that was because the program made it so that you can be more efficient, or because the program identified for the supervisors where staff was not being efficient, or maybe they didn't want to be as efficient, and then the supervisors are able to compare and contrast who's keeping up and who's not?
Right, so a little bit of both. So we said when we got this, we weren't going to take this and be like, hey, we're going to contract this out, we're laying you off, you no longer have a job. The 20 people we lost was 100% because people left, and this kept growing in efficiency that we didn't need to hire them back. So it was a little bit of both. It made us efficient because, again, just like Tom was describing, you know where stuff is, you could keep track of it. Somebody's looking at what you're doing, so you can't, you know, the sort of driving, a big thing. I've been with the village 30 years in this position. So, 20 years ago, it was, today we got 2 crews clearing drains. That's 4 people, right? There's not 2 crews clearing drains. Because how are you going to show me that, and what are you doing, and where's your work? So it cut out some of that type of stuff. And then as we got costing in, we contracted out a whole lot of services. And then we took the people doing those and we assigned them to other things that maybe we hadn't been efficient on, or we were needing to get caught up on. So we had them do other tasks because we contracted out, because we were able to compare the costs. And for a lot of things, it is not cheaper for your in-house public works staff to be doing them. It's just not. Contracted service is really landscaping. We got rid of all the mowers. We don't mow anymore. We don't do any landscaping. All the ecological, hardcore restoration, maintenance of the restored areas, we do with a contractor. Tom, you contract out. Oh, you're pretty good because we have the big Vector truck and everything, so we do pretty good there. But, we contracted out striping. We used to do in-house.
Catch basin cleaning.
Yep. Catch basin cleaning, that's all contracted out. So that's what I was going to show you next, because you were talking about the MS4 program. So we have work orders and stuff set up here so that we can directly export data for measurable goals in the MS4 permit. Right? So we use that for that. So I got the storm sewer layer up here that's showing, our storm sewer system. So massive, right? And so my work order templates in this, and I'm just going to show you a couple for MS4 reporting. Right here is every year we contract out annual cleaning, right? So I can look at any one of these templates since 2018, and let's go back to that one, right? I can say it costs $48,000 for National Power Rotting to come in and they cleaned these 235 structures. So I can report this each year. This is how much storm structures I'm cleaning. And then I can also, in this here, and I removed 20 cubic yards of debris from the storm sewer system. And then you can do that each year, and you can get yourself a little report. So here's how much it costs for cleaning each year. I should have put in the number of structures we cleaned. Here's how many yards of debris removed. So since 2018, we spent about $1 million cleaning the storm sewer system, and we've removed 457 cubic yards of debris from, not cubic yards, but yeah, it's cubic yards I think it's measured in. So there's a measurable goal of what you're doing, what you're cleaning, and what's happening.
So just cleaning the individual, like the catch basin
Yeah,
structures?
the catch basins.
That's not rotting?
That's not rotting and flushing them. This is just, it's cleaning the basin. So you get your little, that little bit of storage and that little bit of settlement you get in that catch basin. It's keeping that viable for, again, a little bit of storage, but it's getting that debris out of there. And 20 years ago, a 1-inch rain event sent every crew in the village running around dealing with flooding issues. We get a 4-inch rain in an hour, we're driving around clearing individual drains in the road. That's a lot because we have a green infrastructure network, but it has a lot to do with keeping your system working and clean. It has a lot to do with Tom and the sanitary sewer, flushing, televising, handling I&I. Inflow, infiltration, so that's not coming into, our storm isn't going there, and the cross issues with all of that, so it helps with all those things.
Well, that information is directly translatable to your MS4 permits. And, I would even like to take it a step further. So when your catch basin, as it gets fuller, its ability to improve water quality reduces. And so by keeping your catch basins free and clear, you're actually exponentially increasing the water quality benefits being derived. But throughout your town, you'll have catch basins that fill up within 6 months. You have other catch basins that don't fill up at all. And so, if you're tracking that data as far as how full the catch basins are, then you can then actually maybe do more frequent cleaning in catch basins 7, 27, and 84, and incorporate that into some other type of routine maintenance and reduce the number of cleaning that you have to do to others that just don't fill up. And, but without tracking that data and having a consistent place to put that information, you can't use it that way. But I see this as being a powerful tool to keep getting more and more refined as far as the benefits that you're able to provide.
For sure, and we're not getting down to that level, but we could. As they go to each structure, they can say full, not full, whatever. You could have a measure in the work order template, a qualitative assessment, and then I could go to, I could go to my template and I could have that in there, or I wouldn't put them all, I would put them all individually. You can do, I have everything on one work order, but I could have done these one each, and then it's $200 a structure. So my cost for cleaning each structure is $200, but you could dial down the information. So at each structure you could say the sump was full or it wasn't full or whatever, and then after 5 years of data, you know exactly what Scott said, what you can skip, whatever. So you might not be then, at that point, you're not on a 5-year rotation per zone, you're on a 5-year rotation per what's filling up and the actual time frame of which it needs to be cleaned. And you can hire companies. There's, I think the first go around, we had a company and they had like a thing on top of the car and it shot out, so it captured like where structures were and it captured whatever data you wanted to try and capture, trees or whatever. So there's companies that'll come and drive down your street and capture your data for you if you wanted to do it quickly and pay for it. But you could do it more quick that way.
So here's the next big question then. So obviously all of this, not just your salary and the cost of buying the software, but managing all this infrastructure is all paid for by the taxpayers. And so this is great seeing oodles of information here that we can see, that Michele is sharing with us off of her computer screen. And I'll ask this thinking not so much from water distribution and sanitary sewer, but storm sewer, right? Stormwater. It's an open system. Whatever somebody does in their lawn goes into the system. What kind of, do you guys utilize any kind of dashboards or anything that are available to the public so that they can see what's going on, or do you issue reports so like they understand, like for example, I mean, when you showed just even your little spreadsheet, you were showing that we spent $200,000 in 2022 just cleaning catch basins. I'm sure the public doesn't really have any clue that that kind of money that's going in to clean, a catch basin, where that water, where the water and anything that runs off of that water goes.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, and is there a system in place maybe that is available in city works you guys aren't utilizing for like those public dashboards for men to be able to kind of see like, this is what's going on with your stormwater system,
So we use some of them, we don't use that a lot, but IT exports it into, like we have a different program, I think it's called Insights, that does the reporting and makes it look pretty and charts it out and everything. So we'll share some of those types of things, or might put that information out on the website or something like that. But we're just starting to get into a lot of the reporting for it because we finally have like you have to wait till you have several years worth of data, otherwise, what are you looking at, right?
Even with all the information there, I'm sure everybody here in this room, when you were looking at all these tables and drop downs, you can kind of suffer from, paralysis by analysis, right? It's like
There's so much.
Right, and so, and obviously you have to be thoughtful in what you're making available to the public, not because you're trying to hold information back, but because if you overwhelm them, then they kind of throw their hands up and say,
They just don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what it means. They don't know the context of it. You could report, I could just do nothing but do reports and send them out there, but what's the context of that? What does that mean? How does that fit into the maintenance of the village, So, it's kind of interesting.
Do you guys have a lot of private drainage infrastructure in the village?
No,
In the backyards and that, or all?
Yeah, those are all like village. We do have a lot in the backyards.
Right.
So,
You got all the catch basins.
yeah, we got all the catch basins and stuff. We don't do any cleaning back there.
Unless you get a call, right? I mean, that's probably more.
Then we get a call. That's more of a crew goes out and does that too. And we could get proactive on that because you can hire a company that comes in with the little machines, that easement machines, and they can get in the backyards or whatever. We're just going off of what's within the right of way and reachable with a vac truck.
But you're using a system to make it accessible to the public to easily report.
Yeah, to report. And then the thing is what's nice about this, we can give this to contractors. So when the company that's cleaning the storm sewers, we don't just, here's your Excel spreadsheet where the address is, here's the structure. They hook into here. They can't do anything. They can't do work orders. They can't change anything, but they have everything on the map. So they can say, I'm at this, done, disappears from the map. They move on to the next one that's highlighted. We do that with the tree planting contractor. We do that with our tree trimming contractor. Brad does with the natural area contractor.
Other contractors just have visibility to the map. So like our weed control contractor for turf grass, they can get into the map and see the layer and zoom in and zoom out.
Yep.
But everything else is locked down, so they can click buttons and they're not going to mess anything up.
And we can do different things, like we have information in here, like all the detention basins in the village by color coding of who owns them. So we can sort by different types of private ownership, who's responsible for that basin, how many do we have, which. As you zoom out, you sometimes lose stuff, which this always blows my mind.
Well,
We have 195 detention basins in the Village of Algonquin.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's
That's
you guys
insane.
do a fantastic job of inventorying and keeping tabs on all your stuff. So we have 3,337 as of this morning in Kane County. We might be missing a couple.
Yeah.
And 900 of those are in unincorporated Kane County, and I can speak for the unincorporated Kane County ones. We probably inspect, we only own about 30, and we probably inspect, including those, maybe 40 a year. So we have hundreds and hundreds of stormwater facilities that were built from the mid-1990s all the way through last year, and nobody's looked at them, most of them haven't maintained, and that was why I say in terms of like the public education thing, I think a lot of people assume that just like the sanitary sewers are being constantly maintained, because it takes about how many minutes after a sewer fails and collapses or becomes, it takes what, an hour, 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever, right? Maybe a couple hours before it starts backing up into a house and you're getting calls, right? But the storm sewer system, I think everybody just assumes that drainage infrastructure is being managed in the same way.
It's not.
And it's just not. And so I think that's another powerful way to kind of share that with the public so that they understand, and then they understand. You guys have a stormwater utility?
No, so I was just going to tell you this. Here's the trustees over here. No, so the water and sewer, our water and sewer system is maintained at an extremely higher level than the storm sewer system because they're an enterprise fund, user fees, right? So they have a lot more money to do a lot more extensive maintenance. All we're doing to the storm sewer system, we're cleaning it and we're doing spot repairs and a tiny little bit of lining because it is competing with all the other stuff we need to do because no, we do not have a stormwater utility.
Right. And again, for the most part, I think the challenge that a lot of people have with trying to implement a stormwater utility, frankly, is because they don't have a handle on what infrastructure they have and what its condition is. And so
right.
That's
and
kind of a limiting factor. Then when they finally do spend the money to look at that, then usually that's when they have the big public meeting and, the city council.
Right, I mean.
Trustees' eyes get big when they go,
right,
oh my
it's,
gosh, we need $5 million.
They have to deal with that politically. I mean, I would not want to be in that thing. Like, not only, so here we're going, storm sewer, we want a utility tax, which they would have to say, oh, community, we're putting another tax on you. But all these other things are happening for them at different levels, business and community development and everything that's not public works. So I get it, and we get it, but we're ready whenever you're ready. We didn't, but I'm just teasing you guys.
The governor doesn't get any more of our funds.
I can tell you, 30 years, we've pretty much had almost the same board here, and they're phenomenal. They have been so supportive of everything we've done. They trust staff. They listen to us. They ask questions. They're here. They have supported our green infrastructures because of our board, and we educated them, and we got them on board and showed the benefits of it, and they were like, yeah, we want to be this, so they're great. But yeah, they're dealing with their political things that they have to deal with, and that's local, that's government for you, right? Couple other things as we're getting to the end here, just because they're really cool. So I really wanted to talk about stormwater and those types of things since we're water resources here, and let's pop off this.
Michelle, in
Yep.
stormwater, how does that affect flooding?
What, like as far as?
Does anything back up in yards or in the streets?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, it's pretty good now because of the green infrastructure. So we're getting a lot more infiltration. We've restored all that floodplain, and all those creek restorations. That's probably the hugest impact, I would say, is the creek restorations, restoring the floodplain, letting everything spread out and flood where it should. And so it's flooding in the floodplain in a restored natural area instead of in a street or a backyard or a front yard or whatever. So that's what those creek restorations keep the flooding where it's supposed to be and off the private property. We're still getting flooding, it's just happening where it's not impacting anybody. It's just it's letting nature do what nature does. But again, the cleaning of the structures, allowing there to be flow in there, keeping them clean and maintained, the capacity for the water to flow, that all contributes to not having flooding. Yeah. Just a couple other things on here I'll show you. Pretty cool is the tree layer. This is every village-owned tree.
And how was that data collected? Did you source that?
This was a staff member went out, so they collected all the data and everything. So we do our trees by planting spot. Which is really cool. So a tree gets removed, then there's a spot open and you can replace it. And then this on CityWorks by, if it's yellow, it's an available planting spot. If it's green, there's a tree there. When we do removal work orders, I'm trying to find one for you. The tree might turn red, so maybe a tree was there and we removed it, and there's a street light pole there or a fire hydrant or a stop sign. We'll turn the tree red. Don't ever plant a tree here again. There's too much else going on. It could be why it failed or why it doesn't survive. We inspect and trim the trees every 5 years. We inspect them, so we update the DBH, and then we use that. I'm going to trim zone 5. We export that because the year before we're going to trim it, one of our arborists goes out, updates the DBH and the data. Boom, boom, hit it to a spreadsheet, go out to bid. Here's current DBH in zone 5, so we know the cost because it's usually 0 to 6 inch, 6 to 12, 12 to 18 inch is how the pricing goes. So they're in there by that way, so we can just run the spreadsheet, know how much size of each tree we have.
So is DBH the diameter?
Yeah, at breast height is the diameter of the tree. This is the standard of how they're measured. So you can pick any tree. Let's just pick one. I can go to this tree, resident calls, there's a problem with it. I know it's a Freeman maple, it was planted in 1978, it's about 10 inches in diameter, so we have all kinds of information, you know, the different trimming zones that it's in. Tree layers, really one of the most used layers, because it's the most, like I told you, most of the calls come in regarding tree stuff, so, go ahead.
I'm assuming that you can import and export with ArcGIS, right? Or
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Import and export with ArcGIS. Yes, but that's all I can tell you about my knowledge of that. I don't know. You guys might know more. I'm sorry.
Data, but it's actually not, like, it's not creating a separate database. That's one of the values or the selling points of CityWorks.
Yeah.
That's why Jack Dangermond at their CityWorks conference gives his little intro.
Okay.
They're like
Yeah.
part and parcel.
I'm glad you're answering that. Yeah, those are a little bit, yeah, it's integrated. So again, that's our tree layer. What?
Trees are just in the public right of way.
Just the publicly owned trees. What's really cool, I didn't set up a demo for this because I wasn't sure about time, but like the tree removal, when I come in here, I'll just do this one and then I'll open it. Let's go to.
Real quick, you guys have a tree preservation ordinance?
Yes, we do. Okay, so let's find this tree. All right, so I just picked there's a tree removal work order on this tree right here. So let's say I send the guys out today and they remove the tree, right? So I'm gonna do all this, I remove the tree, I put in my time, I put all that stuff in there. I think all the fields are filled out. I'm gonna close, oops, I gotta. See, you can set fields too where you're not allowed to close the work order until you put all your data and information in there. But the reason I'm showing you this is some of the work orders are set up to, when you do them, they automatically update GIS. So we don't have to do work orders and walk down to Brian, hey, can you change this to a yellow tree on the map? So I'm showing you this right now.
Are you playing in a digital sandbox right now, by the way? Okay.
No, I'm not, but this is real,
I mean,
but.
You gotta be careful here.
I know, so I didn't set up a demo for this, but I'll remember this tomorrow. So I'm gonna close this.
Somebody accidentally gets their tree taken down in front of them. Is that tree?
Oh, I've got tasks in here. Sorry. So again, you can't close the work order till your tasks are complete. And this is how you do workflow. So this is the other thing that, that reduction in employees. We used to have, okay, we have the streets division, we have parks and forestry, we have water, we have sewer. It used to be that, well, I'm the streets division and we did something and we have restoration. Well, that's a streets issue and it's in the right of way. We're parks and forestry. We're not doing restoration of that. We dug up a sanitary sewer and it was in the road and it was also in the parkway. Well, that's the utilities division. We're not utilities. That's not us. We said no more. No more towers. Parks and forestry does landscaping. You're parks and forestry. You work with landscaping. You work with dirt. You have the tools. So that's where you set up tasks. So his crew might come in and they fix it. So call Julie's, fix manhole. When those are complete, the next task is landscape restoration. When that's current, it pops into Bud Schutz's inbox as the parks and forestry supervisor. I have an open work order that needs landscaping. And bam. So we got one department. We used to be like, well, the road was torn up from your sewer, but that's the sewer. The street department's not doing that, so we have to wait till we got a contractor in. Again, sewer's done, it needs concrete curb replacement, it needs asphalt. The task pops up in streets thing, and they say, oh, there needs new curb here, we tore it all out as part of fixing the sanitary sewer. My contractor's coming in next month, bam, it goes on his list to fix. Here it needs a patch, we're going out there, we're gonna patch it and fix the road. And the streets division is doing that. So that's the workflow, and your tasks is also what gets your efficiency, which was a little bit of, as we reduced employees, we were becoming more efficient with who was doing what, and we stopped duplicating people doing things.
Can I ask you a question on trees? It's going to be a little bit of a deviation, but because you have that data, one of the things, and you're putting the tree right back in the same hole? Is that what you're, right next to it? Okay.
No, right in the same.
Okay. And you contract that out when somebody's planting? Okay, because what we find sometimes is that the trees coming out of nurseries, when they put the dirt on top of the root, the ball, the tree is now too low. And so, and then if you go through where I live, everybody loves the volcanic mulching. Okay. But these are, and the problem is, and it's on Parkway, you can't control what somebody does in their yard. But I'm telling you, across my street, this high.
Yeah.
And in the neighborhood, we've got lindens that are probably 35, almost 40 years old, and they're slowly dying because they're choking.
Yeah, they're girdling.
And the value of that tree at 40 years, you've lost that value, you've lost that canopy, and now you're starting over.
Right.
And then they get planted too low, and then the neighbor goes right back in and puts the mulch on there. So how can you, is that something that can be added in?
So we do that already. So we already do that. So we used to plant trees with a crew, which would take us all summer long with a crew of 4 people. We contract that out, he's in a month, and he's done. So what happens is when we write the proposal for that, there's a very strict specification about how it has to be installed. So the thing about that is we make sure, because let's say this is what he planted today, instead of 4 people going out planting trees, I have one guy that says, this is what you planted in the last 4 days. He does an inspection. You planted this too high, you bid, this is how you had to install it, get back here and do it right. So we got a QA/QC of an in-house staff making sure the contractor is doing what was in the specification he bid or quoted on.
Oh, these get planted and like one doesn't have a leader.
Yeah, so we inspect all that and we make sure we're getting what we wanted in the spec. We do. We have a warranty, a 1-year warranty also. So, so this is just an example here. The crew came today. They removed this tree. I'm going to close the work order. This was the tree, so I have to move the map. It'll update. Turned yellow. No tree there anymore. Just off the work order. It's updating GIS. So, and then that happens when we plant a new tree. So when they plant a new tree, they'll go into this tree planting template. Oops, let's do a closed one. So our contractor comes in, he plants the tree. It was a tulip tree, it was 2-inch. When he closes this work order, so tulip tree, 2-inch. Here's where it is. If I select this asset now, tulip tree, 2-inch, planted 5/17/2024. Updates GIS right off of closing the work order. So we've done this where we can so that the data is constantly current and we don't have to call IT. Change this to yellow. Oh my gosh, here's our tree planting list for this year at these addresses. Go in and manually put them in. All automatic. So that's just kind of cool about the tree layer.
When you put the work out to bid, do you include, like, you must utilize our CWorks software?
Sometimes we do. When we do it, we've been working with the contractors, a lot of the same contractors, and they're asking for it now. Yeah, they want to use it. Because if I'm the guy planting the trees and the supervisor is gonna assign me, I want you, Bill, to do these trees today. So this is how he's doing it. These are on hold and these are open because these are what we're planting this week. We don't want to plant these till next week, so they're on hold. So he'll say, Bill, you know, I have a search for you for all the open tree planting work orders. They pop up on the map, and then he's also routing himself for efficiency. So he can say, these are what you're going to plant today. So these blue dots, my map's got some other stuff on there. These blue dots is what I want Bill to plant today, and so he's gonna know how to easily drive through town. And that's what his work is today, off the map, and those are the open work orders. So that's what you can give your contractors, and your staff too, to manage the workflow of it. Let's go. Yep. Sure.
Residents, when they have new trees planted in their yard, they have a 1-year warranty. Who goes back after 6 months, 9 months to make sure that it's been maintained well by the village or the homeowner? Because some homeowners, they have landscapers come in, they do what I call a volcano mulching.
Yeah.
3 feet.
Yeah. So at about the 1 year, right before the 1 year period, that same employee says, give me all the trees that were planted last season. He takes a day or two and drives around all of them. Make sure nothing's dead, nothing's whatever. If it is, he writes it up, sends it to Bill. Here's your warranty trees. When you come in and do your planting this spring, here's your ones that died from last year. I need replacements here.
But what is the homeowner's responsibility?
We ask them to water them, keep mulch around them. When they get a new tree planted, they get a little sheet that says, here's how you take care of your tree. Water it, mulch it, don't hit it with the lawnmower, some information like that, so.
No, I'm just adding that because of what Carolyn asked. Because some people do suffocate.
Yeah, sometimes they do. We don't drive around all the time and look at them. I mean, that's 300 trees every year. We'd never be able to keep up with that, so we just hope that they do it, and it's interesting. The thing about the tree, like we have a tree maintenance and work order, and I can't wait to start analyzing this, but so like our maintenance work order, here's all the different things that we'll do for maintenance. So over time, we just haven't gotten to this reporting yet, but this is quite a long list. Over time, I'm going to be able to be like, when we do maintenance on trees, what do we do the most maintenance? What do we have to do the most? And then I'll know, like, for all the tree stuff, what are we spending the most time doing? Is it bugs? Is it clearance trimming? Is it hangers and dead, damaged, broken? Are they diseases? What do we really spend a lot of time doing to maintain our trees? And what's really cool too is on the tree removal work order, where was it? Oh, problem, dead, dying. So sometimes we just don't know. Sometimes it was hit by a car, we had to remove it because there was a main break, all this. So it will be interesting when we analyze this data, when we have to remove dead trees, what are the reasons why we're removing dead trees? Of all these things, what's happening. And then it's cool because you could say, show me all the dead trees that we've removed by species. So we've done stuff where we're like, we started to remove tons and tons of maples, and it's because after a certain size, their roots girdle. They just can't handle the narrow planting space and the stress of being in an urban environment. We've taken them off our approved tree list because we know we're getting 15, 20 years out of them, and that's it. And we're looking for things that last longer or whatever, and we were able to analyze that off of the data because these are the most trees that we're removing in the village. So that's cool there, just because you guys asked. We're down,
Urban trees, they were talking like the Chicago Tree Initiative, that if they're just those boxes, they're calling them death boxes, because they really, they were not gonna last that long, if it wasn't for this.
right, exactly.
You can open them up and so that there's at least some space between the two trees, like a couple of trees, and they have a better chance of survival, but the small boxes that are completely encased. just
Yeah, they don't. There's some treatments you can do. We did it on Main Street, where you put some special infrastructure down in those narrow spots so the roots can get way down under there and give you more life to the trees. So we've done some of that. But you were asking about parks, because we have to handle all the parks. So we have everything on here for all our parks, like site amenities. So every park we have the garbage cans, the drinking fountains, the picnic tables, the benches. We can pick these. You know, what are they? Who's the manufacturer? All this stuff. So we can manage our site amenities that way. We have all of our playgrounds on here. So the playgrounds are by age, swings, spring toys, who manufactures them, what they do, when they were installed. So we manage all of our playground assets through this. And this is cool. These, I showed you the sign shop because these are all the signs in the village.
You got like custom symbology. That's pretty cool.
So everything has custom symbology on what it is, where it is. This is everything that our sign shop does and makes, which is really, really cool.
If you go back to your stormwater, like your structures, what data do you have for like your storm structures?
Storm has,
Like if you look at like your catch basin stuff, like I just noticed, like, so you know for your parks, you know who manufactured your garbage can in a given park. And have you guys gotten to a level of detail as far as?
so here is like here's some structures. So we're starting to. Yeah, we don't have this as complete as the other layers, but you can see we're showing what something is. We have some elevations on some of it, if it's a restrictor, but this is not quite as complete of a layer. And then if I flip over to the gravity mains, we do try to have from what manhole to what manhole, because eventually as technology, and I think it's already there, you can say, I'm going to drop water here, show me where it goes. Because it says from manhole to manhole, so I could say, I'm going to drop water here, and it'll give me a video of where it runs to. So that's kind of what we have, you know, some information on that.
You were mentioning like the Google Street View and stuff, and with the high resolution aerial photos. So in Kane County, that's what we've done. If you go like on our stormwater viewer and you click, about midway through the county we started. So we didn't have Algonquin and the northern part we don't, but from like South Elgin or maybe St. Charles down, like every structure, because between Google Street View and then 3-inch pixel resolution aerials, I can pick out if it's a type 24 inlet, if it's a type 11, if it's a type 3. The type 8 beehives in the backyard, they stand out.
Stand out, yeah.
And then, so the other interesting thing is we gave our data set, we got 142,000 structures mapped across Kane County. We gave it to University of Chicago students, and they are using it, they're trying, they got to get over some humps, but they're basically using that as a training data set so that they can then train an AI model to identify
that's cool.
structures, because that's where all this is.
Yeah, for sure,
eventually.
100%.
You know, we won't have to manually do it, but somebody's got to create the training set to teach it how to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah.
Obviously that has some real implications when you're asking about like drainage and your storm sewer capacity and stuff. When we do, I'm a stormwater modeler by training and or by trade, and there's a lot of assumptions that we make, and we really skip over a lot of kind of the details when we're doing our stormwater modeling. One of those would be inlet capacity. What type of frame and grate you have makes a difference on how much water
It sure gets in there and how fast it gets in there, 100%.
So we're kind of doing all that and laying that down so that eventually when somebody use that data, they'll be able to know what type of frame is on each structure, and then each frame's going to have a rating curve for how much water can get into it, to then import that straight into their hydraulic.
Yeah, and you run all that, so yeah, it's totally cool.
We're at 3 o'clock.
Oh, we are.
Have you covered?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's other layers, they're all cool, they all have their cool stuff that you can see, so you get the gist of it, so. But I wanted to show you some of the really, really neat ones and kind of what we have, so.
Yeah, are you willing to stick around a little while?
Yeah, I can stick around for till about 3:30 or so if you want, or whatever, if you want to see anything more. I don't know.
Let's thank Michele for her